Which mic is she going to use?
Mic 3.
Mic 3.
And she's got a very sensitive mic. I need us to sort out your chair. I know you also have a sensitive back like me. Do you prefer it low or high?
But I think
This one is better. Okay. Let me move it for you. All you need is the chair. You're gonna sit there on mic 3.
What a nice song. You can take photos with you. Hi, I'm feeling like. Do I have to be this low?
Is it low? Feel low. How do you adjust these chairs?
Oh, just. Is this part that feels low?
Oh,
I'm a tall animal.
let me see.
When the song finishes,
when the song finishes, I'm going to introduce you into the show. I'm going to introduce myself first. Then I'm going to say something little, and then I'm going to introduce you, our guest for today. And then we're going to play your song. Which one do you want us to play out of the... I think I need to focus.
But the problem, you need to start after I start the recording, because it's still recording the first one. Then when it's done, and then I'll able to.
So we have the goodness of God, Lord your goodness. Another thing with the goodness song, you didn't specify which one. So it's the goodness of God, Lord your goodness, God in the clear.
No. What is Lord your goodness? The goodness of God is CC Winans.
It's CC Winans.
I did.
So now we have Jen Johnson Victory and Lord your goodness from Hillsong.
I don't know the Hillsong one.
And then we have Whitney Houston, One Moment in Time. Then we have another Whitney Houston featuring Mariah Carey, When You Believe. And then, yeah, so it's this two shall pass. Did you ask for this two shall pass?
Yolanda Adams. Okay. I gave you an option of
Yolanda Adams.
Yeah.
So it was 1, 2, 3, 4.
That one I don't know. The one that I have.
Can you get me that one, please?
Yeah, CC Winans.
Goodness of God of CC Winans.
The problem, I have to remove them. It might switch off now.
Really? Okay. Can we play any other song? Because that one that you sent me,
The first one, Johnny was saying,
nothing? Okay, so one moment in time for question 2, question 3, goodness of God. So it doesn't specify. Then when you believe, Mariah Carey for question 4. And then another thing, the questions, the way that I sent them, it wasn't a build-up. So now we're going to talk about your passion in youth development. I think that was question 3, your journey in life as a mom, as a sister at Sylvie, so that people can get to know you and your upbringing, and of course your pursuit in your academic career. Then we're going to speak about the hills and the valleys of your professional life and educational background, your recent summit to Kilimanjaro, and then the last one is what are your biggest breakthroughs?
Yeah, I think that's both the one.
Really?
I think we are going to start at 10 past.
It's already on, we already opened with this song yesterday.
So, but the one still recording, and I cannot able to record the podcast while that one is.
No problem, we've got YouTube.
But YouTube, that's the best one.
No problem.
And you want?
Please can you fix the chair for Dr. Linda?
Oh, I can't believe I didn't specify that one.
Excuse you,
And
I'm
I
so
specified everything
disappointed.
else. And it's too late to do anything.
I also should have checked. You can't get it for us, but Austin.
Yes.
The Goodness of God by C.C. Winans.
But the problem is,
I can get it here.
I'm not going to remove the podcast.
It's
are guys for
fine.
now.
How do I get it here? I can get it and play it from the phone, actually.
Okay, if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to hear it.
They don't allow, the system doesn't allow us to play with YouTube.
I get it.
Yeah. We're not there yet, sis. The radio station is like 5 months old now. No, I think 5 or 6 months.
Also,
On your phone,
Yes, please. You have a choice.
What do you prefer?
I normally don't put them on.
From your guest. Okay.
but you need to put the
You can put them on. That's my thing.
Yours, loud.
Okay, it's too loud. Try it now. Too loud.
I know you.
It's too loud.
Sorry, you see what my hair is going to look like.
Okay. Is it better? Oh, yes, it's in the, don't put them on then. It's just to hear your voice and how you sound on air. It's just to hear your voice and how you sound on air.
Do you want me to speak?
No. Give the earphones are for you to hear your own voice and how you sound on air.
Sorry, say that again.
The earphones are for you
To hear myself.
Yes, and how you sound on air. We're going live.
Let me just I think it might be left with 2 minutes now.
Good evening and welcome to yet another exciting time with me, Tumie. And of course, the show is all about breaking through. Guys, today is a show like no other. I'm sitting here with a powerhouse, a game changer, who's got a very sought out heart for young people. Guys, I'm sitting in here with Dr. Linda NCUBE, CEO of LOVELIFE. Not only she's a CEO, she's an amazing sister, a mother, a friend, a confidant, and an amazing mentor to multiple women. By the way, NCUBE said shout out, NCUBE from Virgin Active in Dangford. Dr. Linda, welcome. Welcome to Breaking Through with Tumie. Can you please just introduce yourself to our people, to them that are listening, to them that just love the show and love our radio station? Let's go.
Tumie,
Yes.
thank you so much for honoring me with an invite to come and spend some time with you. Thank you for your listeners who've tuned in. 1 hour of their time that they'll spend listening to us, they'll never get back. So it's an investment of their time in us.
Yes.
And I really hope that the chat we're going to have today
Yes.
will make them think, oh, wow, it was worthwhile to spend that time. Thank you so much.
Dr. Linda, we're not going to waste any time. We just want you to unpack to us. You know, there's a lot of qualified professionals, you know, in our country, all over the world, people of your caliber, people that have actually paid the price for where they are today. But you, out of many that I know, you chose youth development. Why youth development? Why the youth development space?
You know, to me, there's one thing that I hope you're going to take away as a lesson from our conversation today, and it's that life and death is in the power of the tongue.
Yes.
So watch your words, because your words will either create your future or they're going to destroy your future. So how did I end up in youth development? You know, whenever I think back to this time, I remember a conversation in 2010.
Yes.
That at that point in time, I was working at MTN Zambia, and I was the CFO of MTN Zambia.
Yes.
And I was coming back to South Africa.
Yes.
And I went to meet with the chairperson of the board to just say goodbye to him before I came back. And he said to me, "What's next? What's next for you?"
Yes.
And I said to him, "You know, Valentine, I really think I want to do work in development where I can touch the lives of people. I think I've done my corporate, I've learned my lessons, I've paid the fees. I think my heart is really in development." And when the time was right, my steps ordered by the Lord, because I believe everything that I've gone through in life has been preparation for the next journey. When the time was right, I went into LOVELIFE. And from the day that I got interviewed,
Yes.
and first week of working, it wasn't a bed of roses, but I felt I'm home. The challenges here are challenges that will build me, but they're not challenges that are man-made. Where somebody is sleeping at night or not sleeping at night and plotting, what can I do next? What can I do next? So that's how I've ended up in the youth development space.
Wow. I mean, I can hear from how you're actually speaking. Of course, you know, you've paid the price. I will always say that, guys. Please be patient with me, okay? I can hear from how you're speaking that it comes from a place of such passion, you know, and it's something that you actually took time to actually even get to that point. You know, what better way it is, you know, when you have been in a corporate space. I think we've touched it just off air, and then now you actually have come to a place where, you know what, it's not about me now, you know, fulfilling my fleshly desires. It's about my purpose, you know, my purpose in life. So Dr. Linda, you're not just, you know, a CEO, guys. You know, of course, you know that God has really been amazing to me to make me meet amazing people in my journey. But you're a mom, you're a sister, you're a friend, you're a mentor, you know. And we just want to know a bit more about you, you know, your upbringing. Who is Dr. Linda? Where was she born? And how was her upbringing like, you know, and the relationship dynamics between as a mom, as a sister, as an aunt, and a mentor. And a friend, of course.
I want to try to remember all that. So long before I had all these titles or roles that you've attributed to me, I was a daughter. Okay.
Yes.
So I was born, raised, lived the first 32 years of my life in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
My parents had me. I come from a family that's got 6 children.
Wow.
I'm the firstborn.
Of course.
And there's one boy. And my brother is the fourth born.
Yes.
And how did my upbringing affect the person that I've turned out to be?
Yes.
So because the first 3 of us were girls, my dad was a feminist to me. Long before we started talking about feminist and feminism, my father was a feminist.
Wow.
My father believed in equal opportunities for girls and for boys. So I grew up in a home where gender was really not a big issue, where the investment in education was not counted. My father would say to us, I'll sell my toes if I have to pay your school fees. And one of my earliest memories was when I was going to grade 2, and we were in the car with my mom, my dad, my immediate younger sister. It was 1980, so there were 5 of us children at that point in time. And my dad was they were going to buy uniforms for me and my younger sister Tandi, because we were going to boarding school. And we parked in front of the uniform shop, and I can still remember exactly where that uniform shop was. And Daddy picked up a wad of notes. And when you're 7 years old, it looks like a fortune. And he turned back and he said to us, Lina, liyabona sensiyabhadala ukuthi liye esikolo. Lina, when you funda ipase. Literally saying, I'm paying for you guys to go to school. Your role is to make sure you go and pass. And that kind of defined my academic starting. Like, you gotta pass, you gotta pass, you gotta pass. And I'm very competitive, so pass was not enough. For me, it was always, what number am I in the class, in the grade, in the school kind of thing. So that's how I was raised. And Daddy, the other thing that you would always say is, you girls must stand on your own 2 feet. You must not depend on another person. So I'm always amazed when I'm on Twitter, and because I'm on Twitter to hear what are the conversations young people are having. And there's always this narrative of indoor-damaged. And I'm like, how did you guys get to a point of defining your lives according to what somebody else was doing? Because I was raised with, you stand on your own 2 feet. And so from the day I left my parents' home, 25 years ago, I stood on my own 2 feet. I've never gone and sat down and planned to this is what I want to achieve
Yes.
in Genderbased.
Yes.
So that's how I was raised, and a lot of expectation put on me. You were talking earlier on how I'm a no-nonsense person, and I said, you know what? So I've been talking a lot about what daddy would say, what would mama say? Mama would always say to me, listen, Mtanam, I didn't have an opportunity to go to school. So my mother had a primary school education because she came from a very, very poor family and she was the firstborn. Primary school, go to work, help educate the rest. So my mom would always say to me, Linda, then go to school. I didn't have the opportunities that you have to go to school. Don't mess them up. If you mess up, your sisters are going to mess up. And so I always had this responsibility, not only for myself, but for my sisters. And I guess, so I was naturally the mentor to them because I was the person that they kind of watched and emulated.
Wow.
What else did you ask?
I asked them the relationship dynamics between you and your siblings, and as well, life as a mom,
So my relationship, we're very, very close with my siblings. Even we fight. There's no perfect family, perfect relationship.
Yes.
But that sibling love is never ever compromised in any way. I am totally, totally blessed that all six of us are extremely, extremely close. And two of my siblings, the ones that are closest in age to me, are part of my personal board of directors.
Wow, yes.
So they are among the people that if I'm thinking about something, whether a decision that I need to make, I'll always bounce. What do you think? What do you think? So they are among the 4 or 5 people that I bounce stuff off. We're extremely, extremely close as a family. My parents are both late now, but I think they did a good job in making sure that they leave a solid unit with us as siblings. And then friends. My longest serving friend is my sister who's 13 months younger than me.
Shout out to the sister.
That's Tandy.
Yes, it's Tandy. Shout out.
And in terms of Constance, is a friend I've had for the last 25 years.
Wow.
She is my through thick and thin friends. That's Constance, dependable. I tell you, it's black or white. You can trust her with your life. You can trust her with your life. Absolutely. And I've been blessed with the friendship with Connie has never been a friendship that is a competitive one. She's also a chartered accountant. She's also a businesswoman. She's also, she's a powerhouse. And when we first met, we were 24, 25.
Wow.
And from the time of the first meeting, we connected. This is a prayerful woman. She's a prayer warrior. And we've been each other's cheerleaders. She's running her race, I'm running her race, and we cheer each other on in the respective races that we're in. So we really cut from the same cloth. Our souls are knit. If ever, when they say David's soul was knit with Jonathan, Constance would be that friend.
On that note, we have quite a lot of music that we've requested that you actually unpack with us. So I'm just going to play around with your playlist. I know that you're a woman of order, but we're just going to break order right now. So we're going to play One Moment in Time. Enjoy. Is it too high? Sisi Pogazia is saying, go Dr. Linda NCUBE. Send my fondest love to my Susie. And I say, man.
Oh.
There she is, Sisi Pogazia.
If I sing along, will they hear me?
No, they won't hear you. No, it's the filter that I use.
Oh, is it fine? So on the other side, are they seeing a normal looking person?
No, they sing white. Let me try.
They make me look normal. I look like a Michael Jackson.
Let's do this.
Is yet unknown. I forgot.
Yes.
For every
Guys, she has taken over the studio.
To taste the sweet. I've tasted pain.
Ooh.
I rise and fall.
Yes.
Get through it all.
Yes. Also
This
YouTube.
much is name.
Yes. What is that? No, that's let's start again. Oh, and then when you're done, we're gonna send you that, but it's gonna be edited first so that we can post. This is fun.
I want to give the day to be the best of me. I only want a friend alone.
I don't think they downloaded it nicely.
Is yet unknown.
It's gonna cut it.
I know my crown from every day to taste the sweet.
It's gonna cut
I face the pain. I rise and fall. Yet through it all, this much remains.
Oh my God. Guys, we had a glitch there with one of the favorite tracks of our doctor. Dr. Linda, we owe you. We owe you. We owe you. I mean, guys, I've had the pleasure of actually hearing her sing. She's always told me in our private moments that she can sing, you know, so it was actually nice to hear. And Usisi is saying, Nanko. Thank you so much for tuning in. You know, Sis Linda, we're not going to waste time. You know, we're going to go through, you know, the pursuit of your academic career leading you to where you are now. Why do I say that? How did you get to understand, you know, your love for numbers? How did you, because lots of students get to varsity, they actually don't know what they're studying, or they're studying into, you know, the first year, and then after that, they're like, I'm not sure, you know. How did you get it right?
So when I left home
Yes.
to go to university,
Yes.
I'd registered to do a BCom law.
Okay.
But let's step back. When I was growing up, my father drummed into me, you're going to be a doctor.
Yes.
You're going to be a doctor. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I got to about age 15 and we're doing sciences at school, went home, I like, Daddy,
Mhm.
I don't like maths. I don't like science. I don't think I want to be a doctor.
Yes.
He says, okay, you're going to be a lawyer.
Wow.
And at that
You were going to make a good lawyer, just to interject.
well, my
Yes.
son will do that for us. But so at age 15, my dad and I shook on a contract,
Wow.
shook hands, and the agreement was whatever field I went into,
Sure.
I would do a PhD.
Wow. Yes.
So I leave for
Mhm.
home to go
Yes.
to university
Yes.
to study law, because
Sure.
that was the next good thing for me.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I get to university, BCom registered, and they're like, no, first you're going to do BCom and then the LLB. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to be here for like 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to be an accountant.
Yeah.
I'm going to be an accountant.
Yes.
So I called him. I like that.
Mhm.
I'm not going to do law. I'm going
Yes.
to be an accountant.
Yes.
And he says, you're going to be a chartered accountant?
Mhm.
Yes, I'll be a chartered accountant.
Yes.
So he knew what a chartered accountant was, and
Mhm.
his whole thing was always around security of work. So if I'm a
Mhm.
lawyer, if I'm a doctor, and now an accountant, there's security of work.
Yes.
So that's how the
Okay.
accounting journey started.
Mhm.
And that's kind of when I think back to me, I went to a school where we did psychometrics.
Sure.
I think when we were 15, we did, or 16, around about that age.
Mhm.
And when I think back on that, accounting and law were among the career options that were kicked out. You know?
Oh.
So that's how I went to accounting, the
Mhm.
accounting route. And after the accounting, because we agreed that I'm going to do a PhD.
Yes.
So after the accounting, then came the masters. And I was very clear that with the training that I had done as an accountant, I was very aware of the fact that the audit supervisors and the managers and the partners who managed us had very little people skills.
Sure.
And I was very clear around the kind of manager or leader I didn't want to be. So in choosing my master's program, I moved away from the numbers
Okay.
and did a master's in business leadership,
Come on.
because I thought leadership is going to
Yes.
teach me how to
Yes.
be a
Of
leader.
which you were right. I mean, yes.
So that's what I did my master's in.
Yes.
And then after I finished my master's, I took a bit of a break.
Mhm.
And the age of 40, did a bucket list.
Okay.
And what I can remember from that bucket list, I'm still trying to figure out which diary I wrote, which prayer journal I wrote it in.
Yes.
That I knew that by the time I turned 50, I wanted to have finished my doctorate, and I wanted to have summited Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yes, wow, guys,
So
shout
that's
out.
that's the kind of the academic journey.
Yes.
And I mean, when one is talking about the journey, it sounds like it was smooth all the way. It wasn't. When I was doing my honors, I failed for the first time. I failed a subject for the first time.
How did that
I
feel?
almost went into depression. Like a failure did not exist. It did not exist in my vocab, you know.
Yes.
So I've tasted failure. but I must say, the first time I tasted it was at degree level, honors level. But went back to it and I'm you don't make me look like a failure. I'm going to crunch you, and I'm going to crunch you well. So eventually we did get the crunching right in terms of getting the courses done, and then we went on to qualify as a CA and do the masters and the PhD. And when I started the PhD in 2012, because Daddy kept saying, when are we doing the PhD?
Oh, yes.
So when I started it, he was one of my accountability partners in the sense of the word, because every time he spoke to me, I would only be like, how's the PhD going? How's the PhD going?
He wasn't playing, eh?
And let me tell you, to me, my PhD graduation was the only one that my father attended. And then he passed away probably maybe 12 weeks after that.
Wow.
So he literally waited for me to graduate.
Wow, that was so special. Okay, Dr. Linda, we're going to try again with Whitney Houston featuring Mariah Carey. Let's go. We pray. Is it showing nicely? Are you going to sing for us?
We barely understood, but we are not afraid. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe. When hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe? Somehow you will. You will when you believe. Now I'm studying.
Did I tell you? On Facebook. Can you check on Facebook if I managed to tag you? I did. Okay.
What kind of cheese? Somehow you will when you believe.
These songs, they remind me of my childhood.
When you believe, when hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve? Somehow you will.
Now we're going to talk about your recent summit, Kilimanjaro. We're going to talk about your summit to Kilimanjaro.
Streaming live on JavalComsRadio.co.za, the radio that comes to you. Javal Coms Radio.
You are still sitting live with me here, Tumie, of course, with the powerhouse Dr. Linda NCUBE, the good doctor. You know, Dr. Linda, guys, this woman does not play. I mean, you heard her before we played that song, her speaking about her bucket list, you know, and the things that she wanted to accomplish. She put together this bucket list at the age of 40, and, you know, she worked her way through. I'm sure, you know, she's still unpacking, you know, a lot about her bucket list, but guys, I'm very proud to tell you and to share with you that this powerhouse right here has actually just come back from summiting Mount Kilimanjaro. Oh, and yes, we are going to hear like the nitty-gritties of the mountain, guys. It's not all roses as you're climbing. I think she unpacked as well with me about the journey and how it has been. It's not easy, guys. You know, there's no glory without a story. Mm-hmm. And the higher the building, the deeper the foundation. You know, I happen to be blessed enough to know Dr. Linda on a personal level. And with what she has shared with me and what I learned from her, you know, her whole journey has been such a journey of significance. And more than anything, where she is today, guys, she really paid the price for it. You know, there were things that she needed to let go of. There were circles, you know, friends. There were jobs. There were, you know, even in the corporate space, she needed to let go because now her heart was yearning for a deeper, much more fulfilling walk, you know, in her journey of faith as well. Unpack to us about Kilimanjaro. We are here. We want to know.
Okay, so before I go into Kilimanjaro, yes. I must say hi back to Nobi there. She's my daughter.
Okay, shout out to Nobi.
And to Spogazi, I love you
too. Yes.
So like I said, to me, Mount Kilimanjaro was a bucket list item that I wrote in 2012. I want to do Mount Kilimanjaro and kind of forgot about it until around 2020. And what happened in 2020, just as lockdown restrictions were easing, my job required me to go to Mpumalanga. There was some work that we were doing with the Old Mutual Foundation and the Imbumba Foundation. Okay. And we were, you know, giving dignity pads to matriculants in a couple of schools in Mpumalanga. So I got talking to Sina Moyane, fabulous young woman you should have on your show. And she was telling me, oh, we do the trek for Mandela to Mount Kilimanjaro. I've been wanting to do Mount Kilimanjaro for ages, but I've just never gotten around it. All right, our next trip up on Mount Kilimanjaro, 2022, you're coming with us.
Sure.
And that's basically how the conversation happened. And what I needed, so I had this desire to do it, but there was no driver for that design. So with the Trek for Mandela, they do that with Imbumba Foundation as a fundraiser to purchase sanitary products for girls. There's about 3.5 million girls in South Africa who miss between 50 and 60 days of school every year because they cannot afford sanitary protection. So that climb, you know, the proceeds from that go towards that. So now I had a cause that was, you know, at an institutional level, they were doing for. But at a personal level, it was my passion is the boy child. You know, everybody else can go to town around girls and the need to empower girls. Very important to do. That I always say our South African context is slightly different from the Afghanistan context, where a girl will be shot because she went to school. South Africa, we're really doing great stuff to empower girls, but we've left the boy behind. So when I'm sitting in gender-based violence conversations, my question always is, but what are we doing to ensure that we don't raise potential perpetrators? That can only happen when we're focusing on boys. So those were the two arms, you know, on each. So Mount Kilimanjaro, get to the bottom of the mountain, and the night before we start climbing, two things happen. I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, what on earth am I doing? So self-doubt. What on earth am I doing? Was the first thing that happens. And so I just started praying until I fell back to sleep. And then going downstairs to the foyer of the hotel to get onto a bus to go to the bottom of the mountain, the lift gets stuck as I'm trying to get out. And I press the alarm, and I can't hear any sound from outside that people are reacting. And I start press it again, and I start having a panic attack because now the lift feels really small, and I'm thinking I'm suffocating, and nobody's listening. And I press it for the third time. I'm not letting go until somebody comes. Kilimanjaro, one of the first words you're going to learn when you get there is pole pole. So Tanzania is like slow, slow. So even when the fire alarm or the lift alarm goes, the response is slow. And I thought, you know what? This is a distraction. I'm going to get onto that mountain. And so the journey starts. And it's a journey where there's so many lessons to learn. And I mean, the first thing that driving from the airport to where we were going to go to sleep in order to, you know, be ready to go the next thing. As I was looking at that mountain, because the driver was saying, that's Mount Kilimanjaro. And you guys are actually lucky you can see it, because normally it's covered by clouds. I was looking at this mountain, it's beautiful to me. And the word that drops in my spirit is that is a living mountain. A living mountain. And God says to me, I don't produce, I create. Everything I create has life. What you guys produce don't, because you use factories, unoriginal. And so I started to tune into what are the lessons that I'm going to learn there. The journey is definitely always a team effort to get to the top of that mountain. You've got people who are so vested in you. And a journey that takes you to success is not a sprinting. It's a slow journey. Because to get to the top of that mountain, you're not going to, if you were a marathon runner and you go at the speed of the marathon runner, unless you live on the mountain, you're not going to make it to the top. You know, so it's a slow journey where you're listening to your body, where you're feeding your body, where you're leaning on those around you to help you to get to the top. But there comes a point when you're actually now summiting the mountain itself, where it's not your body that's doing the walking, because your body, you just like one foot after the other. There's got to be a pulling into the inside for that strength that you need. And I remember when I got to the first peak, which is really the longest distance from the camp where you sleep. Well, not sleep, because you don't actually sleep at that camp, but the camp where you start to get to what they call Gilmans Peep. I think that's the most difficult part, because you're doing it at night, you can't see. And I remember when I got there, our guide, Vilane, he's a monster on that mountain. He's the CEO of the group when you're on the mountain. And so you're walking, you're struggling to breathe, your heart is beating at a rate, you think, am I having a heart attack? So you're kind of slowing down because you don't know what's happening to your body. And Spoo says to me, Doc, if you stop, you go back. I'm looking at him, I'm like, Do you understand what's it's taking for me to put the next foot in front of the other?
Wow.
So when we got to Gilmans Peep, I remember Richard Mabaso, the CEO of Ibumba Foundation, just opened his arms because they've done this several times, so they know how to do it and preserve. So he just opens his arms and he says, "I'm so proud of you." And that's the point. At that point, I was now crying like, "I'm here." And when we were leaving that point to now go to the next one and then finally Uhuru Peak, I remember saying, "God, you have brought me this far. We're not turning back. And I'm not going to make it to the end on my own. So you better come with me. Let's go."
Lord,
And Spoo gives me this smoothie that he had, some shake, and he's literally putting it in my mouth because that's how the teamwork ends up. You got somebody blowing your nose for you. You got somebody putting the water sanitation mouth into you, so you suck. Because it's cold, you don't want to take your hands out of anything. Because if you get cold, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
And Spoo saying to me, "I wonder if this doesn't revive you." And I'm like, okay, this thing has not revived me. So better God carry me through this. But when you get to the top, first of all, if you've ever seen photos of people taken at Uhuru Peak, they're looking dazed. They are dazed. Because it's like, I'm here. I'm here. I actually made it here.
Wow.
And you've got that experience of taking it in and looking around you. There's beauty at the top, but the journey is hard.
The
journey is hard to get to the top. So to me, I'm still reflecting on that trip, and still, each time I'll sit and I'll think, what else? What else? What remind me? What else? And you get the opportunity to meet the most amazing people. Strangers, when you meet them, family by the time you get back down. And the interesting thing though is that nobody actually plans for the way down. Because you just like, let's get to the top, and then you're at the top, you're like, there's no cable part. So it was an amazing experience, and you need to put it on your bucket list because it's one of those things that unless you've been through it yourself, hearing it from another person, you don't really get the magnitude of that experience. It's like when people tell you having a baby, until you've had a baby, then you understand it. Did I actually just do that? You get that overwhelmed. I know I've given birth, but did I really just do that? So that really counts as one of the most amazing things I've had the privilege to do. And unfortunately, I'd sent you a flyer hoping we'd be able to get the photo in the clouds coming out as a photo in the clouds. And for me, it was just, I realized how much of a big deal it was when one of my friends saw the photo and he's like, please, can you send me that photo? Do you know how few photos there are of people in the clouds?
Actually,
I hadn't really thought about it, but now that you mention it, so that's just
the significance behind it.
Just privileged to do that.
I mean, you threw a lot of nuggets, guys. I literally was painting pictures in my head, you've said a lot, when you said there's beauty at the top, but the journey is hard, it's, wow, guys, like I'm in awe, and it's so nice to hear it this way, and now I actually want to ask you, because I know that our listeners want to know. So when you made that decision and you felt yourself, you felt your flesh getting weak. And when it kicked in that, what, Lord, I need you, and the team, the way that it rallied with you. And I think what also stands out, the lift encounter where the lift got stuck. That was definitely the enemy saying, who do you think? Exactly. But I think the mountain, I'm saying quite a lot. The mountain and your personality and your walk in the short time that I've known you, for me, it makes so much sense. Yo, like, guys, this woman, I'm just stuck. Like, there's a lot going on. And you touched also, about your passion for a boy child. Going back into that actually before we divulge more about the nuggets that you've shared. We know that you're raising a boy child, and it takes mothers like you to actually say, you know what, I'm raising a king. And this king is the kind of king that will actually be a leader of his family one day. So how do you, in your programs, I don't know if Love Life has specific programs that cater for boy children, and how are you finding mothers actually, especially, I will say traumatized mothers themselves, especially in the areas, the rural areas and the areas that you find yourself having to go unfold that program rather in those certain places. How are you finding the feedback? Are mothers playing along? Are they hungry to actually want to make the change? And are you led to the right kind of communities? And what are the kind of setbacks that you've experienced in this journey of I won't say pushing, because you're not pushing, you're actually doing it, of implementing this beautiful, a program and this program and awareness of the boy child and getting him developed, because there's a lot of us women, we are being mentored left, right, and center. But yes, what about the boy child? Have you felt like, how has it been for you in that space?
So in the space of having conversations around boys and young men, there has been a general reluctance to get into the trenches financially, because NPO,
Yes.
organizations in the development sector depend a lot on funding. So I've lost count of the number of times where I would go and have a conversation with a corporate leader who's in charge of social investment, and we have a conversation that says, let's forget the fact that you're in the financial services sector and you want to do through your foundation financial services related stuff. And let's look at what are the real social issues that we face in South Africa. Gender-based violence is a problem, but it's a sub-piece of a problem of violence. So if you look at the stats in South Africa, I haven't had an opportunity to look at the latest crime stats, but I can tell you that of the homicides that have been reported on, the majority of the victims and the perpetrators are boys and men. And that means that if we want to close off the tap of gender-based violence, we need to kill the root of violence. Because if we just deal with the branch of gender-based violence, and let's say theoretically we eliminate gender-based violence, we're still going to be sitting with the problem of men killing men, men killing each other, and so on. So we need to be focusing on what is wrong with how we are raising men. That's the first thing. Second thing, there's a lot of talk around, oh, the fathers are not there, therefore. Traumatized, hurting people are raised in toxic environments. Whether there is a father or no father, they are raised in toxic homes. And so the conversation needs to be about how toxic is the environment, the home, the community that these boys are being raised and socialized in. They're not only being raised by mothers, they've been raised sometimes by both the mother and the father, but in the most dysfunctional environments. And they normalize what then drives the kind of behavior that we see. So back to the funding story. In 2018, in Gauteng, we had a summit that was in partnership with the Gauteng Department of Social Development. And we said, let's just look at the organizations that are doing work focusing on boys and young men. That summit had about 42 organizations doing just in Gauteng alone. And we missed some of the ones that are doing work because, the database got contaminated, and so we lost some of the names. However, the majority of those organizations are self-funding to work with boys and young men. So when we're talking about boys and young men, it's got to be a situation where all of us recognize and acknowledge our role in the way we have raised boys who are entitled, the way we have raised boys who have been profiled in a certain way. And one of the most exciting things that's happened in South Africa in the last 2 weeks has been the release of a movie called What About the Boys? And that movie questions how society has defined a good man versus a real man. Good man is going to be defined according to a value system. He's kind, he's got integrity, he's accountable, those kind, he's got a faith base, he's faithful. The real man is strong, he's tough. He lays as many girls as a woman as he can. He's got lots of money, he's the king of the ring. And so you can see that there is such a gap between how we're defining a good man and a real man. And we need to kill this real man definition and start to raise boys that have got self-respect, self-love. Because it's out of self-love that we can love another. Right? One of my mother friends says, loving me helps me love you better. So if I don't love me, forget it to me. You ain't getting no love from me. If I don't respect me, I'm going to chop you up like, And so that needs all of us to be on board. That needs all of us mothers to undo what we have been taught is love. And start to create real, authentic, positive environments for our children. Mothers, men in the community. My circle knows that I'm a single mother. So my circle of male friends, they must step in and be that uncle, be that brother that my son can go to talk about stuff that is stuff that I've never experienced because I've never been a boy. And so when all of us start to say, I am responsible for the raising of boys within my circle, for the raising of girls within my circle, and stop waiting for government to do something because government does not raise our children. We do. We need to unlearn some of the toxicity and the harmful norms that we've embraced as society.
Guys, she has said a lot. Like, I don't even have a comeback for that. I mean, how beautiful did you unpack it, And it's a very big role, but it's doable. Like, if people could only, I think for me, when I pray for my nation, I pray for teachable spirits. I pray for all those broken young moms, all those broken older moms, for them to actually allow themselves to open up their hearts, to be teachable.
But we need to pray for the broken men. There's a psychologist, Frederick Douglass, who says it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men.
That's so true.
So men have got a role to play. And if you're a man who's listening here and you're thinking, flip, I'm 50, there's nothing I can do, there's so much you can do. You can start looking in the mirror and saying, I need to do things differently. You can start saying the boys in my circle. I was saying to a colleague of mine yesterday, how is it that women know women who've been raped, but men don't know a man who's raped? You guys need to start being honest and holding each other accountable and calling each other out. I'm not going to march to Department of Social Development and say, children are being raped. It's men who are doing that. When are you men going to shut down this country in the name of we want safer communities? When are you guys going to do that? Why are you waiting for us to do it? Because you are the problem. You are the ones who are impregnating 10-year-olds. So every one of us seems to be waiting for somebody else to do something. And yet within my circle, if I throw a stone in, that ripple effect is going to go a long way, longer way than if I don't.
Sure. Hey, guys, we can talk for hours. Like, it's so powerful what you've been saying, and to actually make so much powerful statements. I'm really, really praying that men are really listening. I'm really praying that men are listening and they're actually taking their positions to actually be active in doing something about it. So on that note, we're going to play This Too Shall Pass by Yolanda Adams. Enjoy. Are you coming to church? Oh.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah. Are you coming to church on Saturday to the concert?
In the clear.
Why did it stop? I wonder.
Surrounding you, the trying times are so hard to endure. In the middle of what seems to be your darkest hour, hold fast your heart and be sure. This too shall pass, like every act that's come. More than you can bear. This too shall pass. So as you be comforted, here is in his hands. This too shall pass. The Father knows the tears you cry before they fall. He feels your pain. His heart and yours.
Let me go open for PD. I'm coming.
More than you can bear, this too shall pass. Love you be comforted. Here is in his eyes. This too shall pass.
We're gonna talk forever. Now we're gonna talk about your biggest breakthroughs.
About 3 minutes, right?
Yes, we're gonna talk about your biggest breakthrough in life and then your favorite go-to scripture.
So when the sky
Guys, we're still sitting in with Dr. Linda on Breaking Through with Dumita. We are back. We have the last two questions. Dr. Linda, thank you so much for actually affording us this beautiful time where you were actually unpacking so much. I know that you have a list, you've done beautiful things in your amazing, colorful journey, and your walk with God. But we want to know, what has been your biggest breakthrough or breakthroughs to date?
So a breakthrough I'm going to define as the challenges or the troughs in life, because life is never linear and life is never always upward going. But I think the biggest thing that I've had to deal with in my life has been death. The death of my mom was the hardest thing that I had to deal with, because I've never done life without her when she died. And she died as I was walking into a room that she was in. So I blessed God for that I didn't get a call to say my mom had died. I closed her eyes. And the death of my husband was also very difficult to have to deal with. But God. But God. The container for that grief has learned to expand in God. And to be able to live life with knowing that I have these amazing people in my life and the blessed assurance of the second coming of Jesus, because I know that they in transit, we transit a transitory separation. I definitely will see them again. So those have been at a personal level the biggest challenges that I faced. And the highlight of my life has been looking at a 21-year-old and saying, I am the mother of an adult. He is absolutely the highlight of my life any day.
Wow, guys. And the last but not least, what are your go-to scriptures? Like if I would wake you up at 2 a.m. and say, Sis Linda, what is God saying? What is the favorite verse? What would you say?
Well, there'll be two. I will say to me, those that wait upon the Lord
come with it.
Shall renew their strength.
Come with it.
They shall mount up on wings as eagles.
Yes.
They will run and not be weary.
Yes.
They will walk on and not faint.
So
wait on the Lord.
Yes.
And the second one, when you are in the valley, let's go to Revelation. These are they who have come through great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. You will go through tribulation, but it will not stop you.
Hi, guys. Oh, you have heard it for yourselves. We're going to sign you out with Donnie McClurkin. Stand.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Guys, it has been powerful. Let's not take it lightly what has happened. We're grateful to the Lord, and as you've heard, she's a great woman of faith. And guys, you can do nothing without God, and trust Him and His process. Enjoy. I love the song.
And you're all alone. You're all alone.
Let's take a selfie. You're gonna pray. I'm gonna hold. Thank you, sis. And then one for you.
Just stand. What do you want me to do?
Say? No, just stand by the. Yes. Yes. Thank you, sis. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you. I love you. And I need you. I need you to survive the storms of life. I need your guidance. I need everything that God has put in your heart to guide me with. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll see you on Sunday.
Yes. Okay, sis. I'm going to go tomorrow for prayer. Tomorrow is Friday. What am I doing tomorrow night?
I haven't thought about that far. I know I'm not going to Oh, my sides now. I'm just.
Oh, you don't want them to show? Okay. I did goodbye. They show themselves.
No?
Yes. Yes. I took a few.
You
Yes. So we going to take together as well. I don't know if you make up. I guess I'm having a bit of fun about it. Yes, on Saturday, yeah. It's a day that to the show.
Oh, what's the post today?
Yes. I'm going to go with media. So I really want to, I told you. People are the perfect person because the she knows a hundred of my friends.
I think, well, Sylvia knows and I sent her the speaker.
Okay. Thank you, sir. If it doesn't pick you up again, okay. You go in from there to the again.
I know that
So you wanted to like to go out for dinner? No, you don't want it to be for dinner.
Okay, so we want to see what you.
It's a part of creation. But each time you think of into the because there's no language of the telling people when you get to the part of creation, the ratio and then into the part of creation. So you go dive into the building. Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Hello, Cuckoo, Dr. Linda, sisters of the Faith Father. Oh, yes! Wow. Yes, they must turn left into the building so that they pick you up there. Yeah, Asha, please. Let me show you the bye-bye, sis. It's just outside as you go outside.
Streaming live on JamalComsRadio.co.za, the radio that comes to you. Jamal Coms Radio.
I got I need to stop that. Welcome, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm
How are
Jesse.
you? Tumie Mandela, but Tumie Tao is the stage name.
Okay.
Jesse, please can you take that down for me?
How much are you paying?
Jay?
How much are you paying?
Jay? For taking this. I'm helping you.
Are you live?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's live from that computer.
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh, I just joined into your live now.
Eh? But I'm ending it.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of the guests. So
No, I'm not saying anything.
because I'm
man.
always alone here. So you're gonna say something.